Welcome to the Folk School on Willow Creek, featuring University Distinguished Professor Tom Ezern, singing and telling stories from the Salon on Willow Creek.
I need a bed for the night, boys, and my horses need hay. I've been riding that grove line on the hot-dish highway. In Crooked Creek's fair valley, way back in '79, I built a little cabin with these lily white hands of mine. I laid it up of prairie sod and thatched it o'er with hay, and there for many months did live, would I were there today. We clip the following from the Fowler City Graphic. It is so applicable to this western country that we think it will be interesting to all claim holders and those aspiring such to be. Stevens County Sentinel, 23 November 1888. It did not rain a single drop for months full 22, but plastered, mustard, plastered on the earth, no drop of moisture drew. How very dry and thin I was, how strange the story seems. With alum my ribs did rub to make myself hold beams. How I lived I cannot tell you, for myself I do not know. But I did as others did and hoed a tiresome row. Dry bull chips were our fuel, which we gathered in a sack. In memory now I see myself with a load upon my back. I sank away to nothing, my clothes all went to rags, but to that claim I stuck and hung and dressed myself in bags. I planted taters with an axe, but a failure was the crop. In morning dew I soaked my sow to make her hold the slop. My neighbors all did leave me, took a tie pass to the east. They said I'd die upon my claim, for the ravens make a feast. But now I have a patent for this lovely claim of mine, and here in Togs the finest amongst the girls I cut a shine. Here in Togs the finest amongst the girls I cut a shine. Little homesteading ballad from a fellow we introduced last week on the Willow Creek Folk School, name of A.F. Rusk. Comes from out in the Garden City, southwest Kansas region. And this was clipped from the Fowler newspaper in that same locality, at which clipped it from another paper. It was being passed around there and sung. And it was remembered for decades around that area. And I introduced this guy named Rusk because he's kind of a character. I'm not sure what to think of him. He was a bona fide homesteader. He took a homestead claim and then preempted it. He paid $200 rather than waiting out the residency period. And then he went into business advising other homesteaders and representing them to the land office in Garden City. And also denouncing Jared Sparks, the Commissioner of Lands of the United States. There's a little bit of a partisan dynamic. We didn't invent that in the 21st century, by the way. You see, most homesteaders were Republicans. And that's because ex-Confederates were forbidden to take homesteads. That meant ex-Unionists were predominant among the homesteaders, and also in running the government out in the Western territories and early states. And so Grover Cleveland appointed Jared Sparks, and our man Rusk had some set-tos with him. But it was all public theater. You know, he's denouncing the land office. And now here, I found this song, and I thought, oh, this is a nice little ballad. And then I realized, oh yeah, but it's an advertisement. What he's saying is he's establishing his bona fides. I'm a homesteader myself. I can help you get your homestead, you see. So it's got an advertising purpose, but, you know, just because something's written with a commercial motive doesn't mean it might not be good. I'm looking at the detail in here. For months, full 22, no rain, a mustard plaster on the earth, no drop of moisture drew. Do you know what that means, Dr. K? What's a mustard plaster?
A medication to make you feel better?
Yeah, what's it for particularly?
Chest congestion.
Well, it could be, because it's going to bring heat there.
Right.
But in particular, if you got an infection, like I had a boil on my leg right here, I'd put a mustard plaster on there.
I guess it would draw up.
It would draw, and so he puts a mustard plaster on the earth, and he can't get any moisture out of it.
Oh, okay.
And he's so skinny and deteriorating so bad, he's got leaks between his ribs. With alum, I did rub them to make myself whole beans. Now, homesteaders, beans were the common provender, particularly for bachelor homesteaders out there. But this business of alum, people really don't know what that's for anymore, unless they put some in their pickles. Some people do. Do you, Dr. K?
I used to, but I don't anymore.
So it's supposed to help make them crunchy, because it mends preserves cellular structure. Cellular structure. And so he's rubbing alum on his ribs so he won't leak. You know, it's going to mend his tissues there. Dry bull chips were our fuel. You know what that is. But you know, I keep forgetting every summer, Dr. K, to gather a box of cow chips so that we can do a steak on them.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you keep forgetting.
Next summer, it's going to happen. And then here's another detail. I planted taters with an axe. Now, this is a real thing with homesteaders. They could afford, they'd have to hire somebody with a braking team and later with a steam engine to plow the unbroken prairie. But that would throw it open, and it was all bound up with roots, and they couldn't work it with a harrow or anything like that. So they'd go in with an axe, and they'd axe a little crack in that sod, that overturned sod, and often they plant sod corn in here. Now he says he's planting taters in there, and it doesn't work out. I'm not surprised. And then finally, his neighbors took a tie pass to the east. All right, railroad detectives are kind of touchy. If you're out there chasing pheasants around and they're hanging out in the weeds along the railroad line, you decide, I'm just going to walk along the tracks here. You know, you're going to get run in by a railroad detective if he's anywhere around. They won't let you walk the tracks that way. So hobos often would be walking along the tracks, however. And if somebody then hassled them about that, they would say, I have a tie pass. And that was a fictitious document, supposedly came from some rail official giving a person permission to walk the tracks. That's a tie pass. It's all bogus. The tune is Joe Bowers, that old song of the Overland Trail to California. And that indicates that when Rusk was writing this song in the 1880s, people were familiar with that song from the 1850s, and he could say, you sing at this tune, and they would. Cool ballad. A cool ballad. And that kind of is the follow-up on last week's story about this guy, Rusk. To discover that there not only are ballads, but there are balladeers and originators of ballads just everywhere you go on the Great Plains. This has been quite a journey the past couple of years. You know what the roses are for here, Dr. K, right?
I am just typing about that as a message here.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Last night we were at the mumbo jumbo mysterious initiation. Shh, it's a secret of Phi Alpha Theta, the honor society for young historians, and we brought 10 historians into the profession, so to speak. And I had a dozen roses. Each one is supposed to get a rose in the ceremony. One of them didn't take his or her rose.
One forgot.
Yeah, we
yes.
got. So, no, I bet what it is. It's the store put together. That common thing, 13 in a dozen.
Oh,
the baker's dozen.
Okay.
Yeah, so we gave away 10 of them, and that left us 3. 3 Hornbacher's roses there. That's what the roses are about. News from NDSU Press. Is there any? You doing anything at all?
Oh my goodness. Well, yes. Gosh. Well, right now I have a student who is working on building a page at our website. For the past 2 years, I've assigned students to read a book about publishing. Could be loosely construed, but it might be a novel about a bookstore, or it could be about the history of the footnote. It could be about graphic design related to book design. And so for 2 years, we've been collecting these reviews, and we're going to start putting them on our website as a spot called Books About Books.
Books about books.
Books About Books. And these students, their names will be there with their work, but they're talking about books in their new perspective as a publisher.
Now, you don't have a link yet to share for that.
I do not, but it's coming very soon.
Books
But it
about
is at our website, just ndsupress.org. That's where it will show up. I see Rebecca Bender signing on and saying hello. We got a nice shout out from the community of literary and small presses. Let me say that again. Community of literary magazines and small presses. And they are recognizing any kind of literature written about Jewish experience, Jewish people, and are still by Rebecca Bender, and with pieces from her dad, Kenneth Bender, got recognized in that. So,
As it should.
So that got,
As it should.
For it's, I think, Jewish History Month this month.
Is Rebecca tuned in there to continue that?
Yes, she is.
Well, Rebecca, toot your own horn there a little bit. Post a link to your book, things like that. Still, a wonderful book about the Jewish agricultural community in McIntosh County, North Dakota.
That's part of it, but it also takes us into Minnesota, where her dad owned a
Well, it certainly
tremendous
does, yeah.
store. Yes.
Willow Creek Folk School is a lot about discovery. I didn't expect that 2 years ago. I thought it was going to be just kind of old time's sake, the good old standards, and there was nothing new to find. And it turns out there's just heaps of ballads out there. And one that tickled me here, 2-3 months ago, I came across this ballad in the Hope Pioneer, Hope, North Dakota, in February 1929, called In the Bastille at Fargo. And it is a bootlegger ballad. I've never heard of a bootlegger ballad before, but we got one here. It's written by a guy named Archie L. Baker from Steele County, North Dakota, who gets run in by the sheriff of Steele County, and the rest of the story is kind of told in the ballad, which I'll get to here in a moment. And he gets 10 months in jail, but he doesn't serve it in the local jail. Probably Steele County doesn't have proper facility, and they send him down to be incarcerated in Fargo. Yeah. It's a bootlegger. This guy, Archie Baker, evidently came out of Minnesota. At this time, he would have been, about, I'm looking at census stuff, about going on 50 years old, and old enough to know better. If he's going to be in that stuff, old enough to know better not get caught, right? He was a well-known character that I find in society columns there in Hope, which is a great name from a town, by the way, in Hope. That he and his wife Minnie are often mentioned as hosting social gatherings, and I'm not sure what connection that might have to do with the presence of liquor on their farmstead also, since he's an admitted bootlegger. So we're going to take this song, In the Bastille at Fargo, or I intended to bring it back, and let's what can we find out about it? And then here's the thing that strikes you. This comes from being an old folkie from the 1970s, 1980s, and having rattled around with a lot of known folk songs, and then I find a new one, and then I notice things about it and how it's related to known things. Why I didn't notice this immediately, so like 3 or 4 days ago, suddenly I thought, I know the tune of that song. This song is meant to be sung to the tune of Brennan on the Moor, which is an Irish highwayman ballad. That, of course, traveled to North America. It traveled to Australia. Irish balladry of outlaws is a world thing wherever Celtic folk have gone. Irish highwaymen, Scottish border raiders. Those are the templates for outlaw songs, as we know them in most of the English-speaking world. So probably for the first time since Archie sang it in jail, I'm going to sing it with its proper tune, what I'm sure is the proper tune here tonight. I used to sing this tune because the same tune was used for a ballad in Kansas and Missouri called Charlie Quantrello, a ballad of Charles Quantrill, the border raider. Come all you jolly fellows and listen to my tale. I'll tell you about the troubles which landed me in jail. With only a few companions all the long lonesome day. But by reading, singing, and playing cards, we passed the time away. They took us to Fargo. They took us to Fargo. Now the sheriff of Steele County, he took us to Fargo. It was on December 21st, into Madson's garage we drove. Well, the sheriff of Steele County was a-standing by the stove. At first I did not mind it, but it sure gave me a jar when he started walking toward us, and he began to search the car. They took us to Fargo. They took us to Fargo. Yeah, the sheriff of Steele County, he took us to Fargo. Of alcohol and moonshine, a plenty he did find. For dispensing of this liquid was surely in our line. Then we slowly drove to Findlay, it's the county seat, you know. And now we're doing 10 months in the Bastille at Fargo. They took us to Fargo. They took us to Fargo. Now the sheriff of Steele County, he took us to Fargo. Now you that have your liberty, come please take my advice. Cut out the booze and gambling and throw away those dice, for they are sure to land you in the future, far or near, far from your boon companions and those you hold most dear. They took us to Fargo. They took us to Fargo. Now the sheriff of Steele County, he took us to Fargo. And as each day goes fleeting by, it's one day near the end. And when I am released from here, I'll wonder if I'll have a friend. Although this is not so awfully bad, I'll warrant you all know there are places far more pleasant than the Bastille of Fargo. They took us to Fargo. They took us to Fargo. Now the sheriff of Steele County took us to Fargo. Isn't that a wonderful melody? So sinister, right off the Irish moor, and it transfers so well to a February landscape in north central North Dakota. Oh my goodness, yes, it's just perfect. They took us to Fargo. Oh, my goodness. Have any interesting visitors on the chat line here this week, Dr. K?
There's someone here that I don't know if he's ever been on before. Also, I don't think I've ever met him in person, but maybe you have. Eric Kalanji. And am I saying the last name correctly? I'm not sure.
I believe I've met Eric a time or two, but not so that we really noticed one another who the other one was at the time.
Okay.
But of course, he's exceedingly well-known character in North Dakota.
And he's checking in here. So.
Oh, it's great to see you, Eric. Hope you're in the best of health. Couple old codgers, he and I.
And speaking of it being in good health, a few weeks ago, a friend of ours, Taylor Brorby,
Yes.
now known as famous author.
Is Taylor with us tonight?
He is.
Oh my God.
He was in a little bit of a car wreck not long
Yeah.
ago, which totaled his car. And he's just today got a brand new bright blue car, replacing his old blueberry car. And this one has a new name, named after a Minnesota author, is how I know him, but Charles Bukowski. This is the Bukowski car.
Oh my goodness.
so
Taylor's back in circulation.
He's back in circulation.
Get over here to Fargo and do a reading, Taylor. Come on.
When we're home. Wait till
Yeah,
we're
when
in
we're
town.
home. You check dates with us. Come on, man. And I hope hope you're out of the concussion protocols and be back playing on Sunday afternoon again. Oh no, wait a minute. That's somebody else entirely.
Oh, okay. All right. Betsy Jamison checking in from Calgary.
And wonderful to hear from her.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. I'm going to mention this. This Willow Creek Folk School tonight, it's about to morph into our Thanksgiving session in just a moment.
Okay.
And I know Thanksgiving's next week, and so should be the Willow Creek Folk School a week from tonight, but one of those is going to happen and the other one is not. You know, we're just, despite the common impression, we actually do have lives, Dr. Kelly and I. So we're gonna be pitching in with family over Thanksgiving pretty hard. So give us an excused absence and come back and visit us on the 2nd of December for Willow Creek Folk School number 122. As for what we're doing, I don't know, you cannot control your kids, right? We have come to the age where kids are starting to claim holidays, and the eldest daughter claimed Thanksgiving.
I kind of like this.
Yeah, it's a good,
Yes.
it's a good gig. The problem is then she had an opportunity to get some surgery that was been long overdue on an ankle that was basically a bag of bones. And it's been put back together, I presume successfully, but we wish her well because it's been a painful week, I'm sure. And at which point then, she's looking ahead toward Thanksgiving, and she decided that this is the menu she's going to prepare. You heard the menu from the saloon in Cut Bank last week or the week before.
Now wait, I think you should also mention she does have 2 grown children, but she also has 2 toddlers
Yes.
at home.
Well, they'll be very helpful.
Yeah.
Turkey, ham, Robertson ham, I believe. Melvina, John won't be the only one who knows what that means, probably. Dressing, by which I think she means like a breadcrumb dressing, and then cornbread dressing also, since you can't have just one kind of dressing, of course. And you can't just have turkey, you need to have turkey and ham. A yam casserole, a corn casserole, a green bean casserole, a kitchen sink casserole, I just made that one up, cranberry sauce, rolls, strawberry jello salad. Those who know our family know what I'm talking about. It's one of my mother's things. Pecan pie, truffles, carrot cake roll, and almond joy pie.
What? No deviled eggs?
No doubt.
No.
It's time for an intervention, I believe.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Under the circumstances, do we really need 2 kinds of dressing? Do we need yam casserole, corn casserole, green bean casserole, all of the above? That you're trying to emulate your late beloved grandmother, but you remember Cousin Bernice always brought the green bean casserole, and Betty and Catherine brought the cover dish. There was all that sort of stuff going on here. You don't have to be the Michael Jordan of Thanksgiving menus. Play the whole roster yourself.
Marla, your sister-in-law wants to know, aren't you having pheasants?
For Thanksgiving?
Yes.
Well, we could haul some down, but I can tell you you're getting pheasant this weekend.
Am I?
Yeah.
Well, I'm a lucky girl.
Fricasseed breast of pheasant
That's
with
my favorite way.
with chunks of buttercup squash.
Ooh, yes.
And we'll eat it over couscous.
Well, that's an early Thanksgiving dinner then.
Oh, it'll be good.
Yeah.
It's starting to make me feel thankful. So we're going to morph into our Thanksgiving portion of this disaster here. And I'm looking for the order of service here.
Well, while you're doing that, Jess Clark, reporting from the coast, says, well, she'll be having crab, clams, and fish.
That's not Thanksgiving.
Well, they are right by all that seafood.
I would eat that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have been promising we're going to sing from Badger Clark tonight. And because that's where I thought, where will I find a Thanksgiving ballad? By God, it's right here in Badger Clark's Sun and Saddle Leather. This is, like the 6th different public edition of Sun and Saddle Leather. And let's see, it's got a preface to it, or a new introduction to it by the great grandniece of the great poet Badger Clark. Her name's Chevy Lee. Badger Clark, first poet laureate of South Dakota, grew up in Dakota Territory, at least starting out. Came out as an infant with his family in 1883. I'm drawing upon the grandniece's introduction here. Eventually, though, had to move to Arizona for his health because he had tuberculosis. He's like Doc Holliday, right? You've seen Gunfight at OK Corral. Doc Holliday had to go to Arizona for his health, for TB, for the high, dry, hot climate. And it seemed to work for him, unlike for Doc. He had kind of a soft job on a small ranch there, and had a fair bit of time off. And I think it was just kind of a place he was staying in order to have a restful recovery. And he started writing poems and sending them home to his father and his stepmother from Arizona. And that's how his poetic career began, was when the stepmother began to send them off for publication in magazines, and he found out, hey, wait a minute, I can make money on that. Meanwhile, he was recovering from tuberculosis. As his grandniece writes, every poem carries a breath of the plains, wind-flavored with a tang of camp smoke. They are of native western stock, as indigenous to soil as the agile cow ponies whose hoofs evidently beat the time for their swinging measures. They were born in the saddle and written for love rather than for publication. But I do know that he kind of got into the habit of writing poetry because he discovered he could get a check when he sent off a poem. Cowboys, however, have made Badger Clark's songs their own, and that's true. His most famous work expresses a spirituality born from a closeness to nature. And that's the Cowboy's Prayer. His return to Black Hills in South Dakota in 1910, back from Arizona, he also carried with him some political sentiments that were non-standard, anti-war beliefs. He was a pacifist. A lot of political commentary, actually, in some of his poetic work. He lived out most of his life in a cabin in Custer State Park and turned out poetry. But certainly his most recited, most read, best loved poem is the Cowboy's Prayer. When I first read the Cowboy's Prayer, I thought, no, surely they sang that. That's so singable. The meter is such that, and when you look at a stanza, if you are a singer, then you can say that is meant to be sung because of the way the syllables will come out in a melodic form. I've never known anybody to sing this song, however, until I started, a year or so ago, singing it to a tune that I put to it myself. And so we're going to do that in just a moment. If you want to assume a prayerful aspect, that would just be fine. Otherwise, just, be thankful. He dedicated this poem to his mother, Lord, I've never lived where churches grow. I love creation better as it stood. The day finished it so long ago. Looked upon your work and called it good. I know that others find you in the light, but sifted down through tinted window pane, yet I seem to feel near tonight. In this dim quiet starlight on the plain, in this dim quiet starlight on the plain. I thank you, Lord, that I am placed so well. You've made my freedom so complete. I'm no slave of a whistle, clock, or bell, nor weak-eyed prisoner of wall and street. Just let me live my life as I've begun. Give me the work that's open to the sky. Make me a partner of the wind and sun, and I won't seek a life that's soft or high. I won't ask a life that's soft and Let me be easy on the man that's down. Let me be square, general with all. I'm careless sometimes, Lord, when I'm in town, but never let I'm say I mean or small. Make me as big, as open as the plain, as honest as the horse between my knees, clean as the wind that blows behind the rain, free as the hawk that circles down the breeze, free as the hawk that circles down the breeze. Forgive me, Lord, if sometimes I forget. You know about the reasons that are here. You understand the things that gall and fret. You know me better than my mother did. Just keep an eye on all that's said and done. Write me sometimes when I turn aside. Guide me on that long dim trail ahead that stretches upward toward the great divide, that stretches upward toward the great divide. Well, does the badger nail it, or what?
You got some hearts for that one.
Yeah, I'll give him the badger. It's his doing, my word. I'm not going to pretend I can write a Thanksgiving ballad equal that of badgers here, huh? but I've got one. Kind of tailored to where we are. You haven't heard this one yet, Dr. K. We've got a few things to be thankful for, don't you think?
Oh, yes.
Is everything perfect?
Very not.
No. No. But let's think about some of these things. Now away with the cynics, curmudgeons and cranks. 'Tis the season for feasting and ballads of thanks. With a bird on the table and a chill in the air, thank the cooks with applause and the Lord with a prayer. For the beets and the beans and the corn and the wheat, for the pork and the beef and the lamb that we eat. There's a crop in the bin, unless I miss my guess, then you better be talking to RCIS. Do you get that stanza? You never look at the envelopes that come.
I see RCIS.
RCIS is one of those crop insurance companies. Trades in all 50 states in the United States. It's one of those, backed by the United States Department of Agriculture. And it found its way into the stanza because I filed a claim with RCIS just today because of some really bad Milo maize for those of you down south. So that's why it says, there's a crop in the bin, unless I miss my guess, then you better be talking to RCIS. Now away with the cynics, curmudgeons and cranks, 'tis a season for feasting and ballads of thanks. With the birds on the table and a chill in the air, thank the cooks with applause and the Lord with the prayer. For the petulant cluck of a sharp-tailed grouse, for the whitetails that peer in the ports of our house, for the bone-chilling blizzards and the warm summer showers, for the flicker-tailed gophers who eat all our flowers. Now away with the cynics, curmudgeons and cranks, 'tis the season for feasting and ballads of thanks. With a bird on the table and a chill in the air, thank the cooks with applause and the Lord with a prayer. Now there's a gathering of friends with a convivial glass, and a waitress who tends to our table with sass. There's a pinochle game at a table nearby. Let us shout gratitude to the star-studded sky. Now away with the cynics, curmudgeons and cranks, 'tis the season for feasting and ballads of thanks. With a bird on the table and a chill in the air, thank the cooks with applause and the Lord with a prayer. Where the deer and the antelope play in Crooked Creek. 79, build a cabin with the lily white hands of mine. I laid it up with prairie sod, and I wish that I was there today by God. Now the sheriff of Steele County was standing by the stove, and he was not slow. He searched the car and he found the booze, and he put us in the Bastille down in Fargo. Through stained glass window, tinted glass, I may not see you in the light, but in the starlight of the plains, I seem to feel you here tonight. Now there's a gathering of friends with a friendly glass and a waitress who tends our table with sass. There's a pinochle game at a table nearby. Let's shout gratitude to the star-studded sky. I suppose one of the things to give thanks for is the ballads that keep turning up on our doorstep every week, right here, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy, all the day. No, the skies are not cloudy all day. Yeah. Dr. Kelly.
We now conclude today's edition of the Folk School on Willow Creek. We invite you to join us again Friday, December 2nd, 8 o'clock Central Time, for more songs and stories.